Hello, this is Amanda Crotty. Um, I'm here to talk about the MightyPythons ticketing system and my contributions to it. It's a lot of information, so I'm going to try to go quickly. Um, as you can see, we have one item that we didn't pull in and work, and we have, a project board and lanes and everything and all this work that we finished. You can see the different people responsible for their different features. Uh, and overall, it went pretty well. So I initially advertised um, that I was experienced in full stack development. I have 5 years experience with it, and I invited people who have no experience to join my team. I was happy to be like another member on a team where somebody else was lead. That was fine with me because I would love to learn different things. But if I were to have like new people with me, I would I would be learning like how to kind of orchestrate the whole thing, like get some of that experience under my belt. And that's what we did with this one. Um, so I formed a team with Sophia and Sid, who basically kind of only have experience at the SPC courses and some personal time that they've invested in their preferred languages. We agreed on the Python stack, we agreed on React and SQL Alchemy, and I asked them to guide me through what they think should go into the project. Um, and then we kind of move forward. The main things that I wanted to draw focus to with the group was planning, like, why React? Why SQL Alchemy out of everything else that was on the list? Why those things? And they justified them. Planning, we worked together with like specific user stories. I had the data access layer developer, Sophia, I had her tell me what you think should be here. And same for Sid, who did the front end development. And then we put together the user stories and we reviewed them and we put them in the to do. And we did our like first sprint planning meeting we'd had like an hour that we got connected and did these things together. And then I talked about um, how they would work across the board, like how they move things into different swim lanes, um, and what to do when your item was ready for review. I wanted to enforce things like the branching, the naming conventions, where to branch from. I wanted them to make small commits. I wanted them to make pull requests. I wanted comments. I wanted approval. And I wanted them to merge once their items were approved. I asked for bi weekly check ins in a way, like we did weekly stand up reports. And then we also, I wanted to hear from them midway through the week to know if there was anything that was blocking them. So a lot of the process enforcement that you would see in a workplace, and all of this seemed to align with what was expected for the group project. So initially, I started the project in Visual Studio 2022. So that's why you see this VS file here. Um, Once I tried to get the front end to launch with the rest of the application, I saw why this was a huge mistake for a Python project. So I moved the project over to VS Code, and then I made these batch files, um, and I made the launch files and the task files, um, and that was new for me. The task thing was kind of new for me because I didn't have to do that on a previous project. And so this was the first time that I was like really playing with React and Python. So it was a great learning experience and a kind of big learning curve as well. Um, I'm just looking at my notes for this presentation. Um, oh, I didn't really use Visual Studio Code before for like running a project, so I wasn't aware of like the different ways that you can configure it. Um, like I kind of just matched, I was trying to match my experience from Visual Studio into this IDE, and it was very fun. And I feel like this is all, I feel like Visual Studio Code is a little less intimidating than Visual Studio. So that was nice. I enjoyed poking around with this stuff, and I'm I feel confident now after this project. I feel confident that I can go ahead and try a starter project in PyCharm or whatever people are using for Java these days too. So looking forward to that. So overall, we assigned our tasks and um, worked through them. Um, I was responsible for the Flask service layer. I was the domain developer, so I was responsible for the Flask layer and the domain models. So I did set up the presentation and data access layers when I was putting the project together in Visual Studio. I, technically put, all the front end architecture and the back end architecture. I set the whole directory up essentially, but I did that based off of the write-ups that they gave me. They didn't give like specific file placement, but that's like kind of what I obsessed on, was like, how should the tree look? And they approved it and we moved forward with it. Um, there were some files that, because I created it in Visual Studio, there's a lot of like kind of stuff that we're not using, like home is in here somewhere. And that's, we're not using it. And in the beginning, I didn't know what files we were going to end up using and which ones weren't. And by the end, I just didn't have time to clean up any junk files. Um, and so, yeah, another thing I want to mention is when you look at the contributions for the class, I would recommend that you take a look at the individual contribution summary that we put in the README, as it says like exactly what everybody got, what I feel and what they feel everybody got credit for. So if you're looking at some of this other stuff, it looks like I did a lot, and I did do a lot, but sometimes they had problems with, like, it was a lot for them to understand, branching. They got the branching down kind of quickly, but then like the small commits weren't happening. And then creating PRs that took like several weeks for them to start getting, but the project needed to keep moving and they weren't available online. Like they weren't, we weren't like real time coordinating as I originally thought we would. So when you look at the contributions and things, it's a little bit skewed because I would create the PR and I would merge it. So it wasn't my intention to kind of take anything away from anybody. Um, I don't understand why this takes so long every single time. Like it should be the same data. But anyway, because I had to do a lot of merging for the project to just keep going to make sure that people weren't blocked. A lot of the code contributions look like they come from me, but I would like if you just refer to this part of the document. Um, this this will help you see that everybody pretty much did their part, um, and we didn't really have problems with someone not doing enough, you know. I feel like everybody kind of had a lot on their plate, and we just kind of did the best that we could in such a short window. If this were a longer project, I would have enforced, like, one thing I regret not enforcing, we didn't do unit testing like we should have. I maybe would have been more firm on that and been pointing out, hey, you need to write a test. You need to, like, that needs to be part of your branch. Um, and then there was also like some documentation write up that I would have asked for them to keep maintaining as they worked. So some of those things we kind of just scurried to do at the end of it. And then there was one thing in planning that we missed. We missed the whole like update ticket status thing. And so we kind of scurried in the end to do that one as well. So those are my contributions. Um, I think this is probably the coolest thing. The launch settings. The tasks were really cool too because being able what I fantasized about was just like an app that you don't have to type in the 16 command line entries, and then hope that it got set up correctly. I didn't want any mistakes with the project being set up. Once somebody cloned the repo, I didn't want any mistakes to happen. So I really enjoyed the task writing and these launch. So once you run the project, you click the run full stack. If I had more time, I would fix this up. I would make it so that it just automatically launched, but it doesn't, and that's fine. Um, so we've got the front end. If we had more time to, I would have these on different pages. I really pictured this as like separate pages and that you could maybe click on a ticket and open it and like read it on a separate page and things, but that's not how it went down. And so we can create tickets and then we have pagination. We've got that new ticket that I just made here, and we can even mark it as closed. Okay, and then data persists and we can find it again. Okay, and then we've got the backend. If we had more time, I would figure out how to get Swagger to open, and so we can make requests like get by specific ticket ID and things like that. But instead, what we have is this. So we've got the open status, we've got the closed status, and we've got that new ticket I made, and it's closed. And then if we mark it as open and update, it's now open. So I hope that shows you everything that you were wanting to see. Thank you.